Intelligence is expressed through the function of the brain, the spinal cord, and movement, healthy movement of the body through a healthy spine. The spine has to be lined up right, but it also has to move right. So in chiropractic, we do these adjustments to make your spines move better, not just so that you feel better, but so that your bodies work better, so that those messages can travel down from the brain, through the spinal cord, out the nerves to all the organs. And I tell my pasta story all the time about how when you have a diseased spine that's fixated and doesn't move right and it's out of alignment, you look on the closed side and the pasta that comes out of the spinal cord there, it's angel hair. It's the nerve, right? And then you got the cadavers in school, right? You saw this every time. And then on the open side of the vertebra, like the person's bent like this, so the open side that comes out, it looks like linguine. And so the organ on this side looks healthy, and this one looks sick. That was all the proof I needed. So healthy spines are lined up right and they move right. Every single structure that there is, every physical structure that there is, has to have a certain sort of normal. And when you deviate from that, you also affect its function. So structure and function, right, are intimately related. Dorland's medical dictionary describes health as total physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So we recognize that, you know, the interference that causes the disease comes in many forms. We'll talk about, you know, when we talk about exercise, we're talking about combating the physical cause, or at least part of the physical cause of disease. Physical, chemical, mental, emotional, there's all kinds of ways to interrupt that. And the physical come in the way of injury or overall degenerative change. And the beautiful thing about the spine, and I'm not going to talk just about the spine tonight, don't worry. But the beautiful thing about the spine is that it doesn't have to decay. A lot of people think that. I can look at an x-ray, you know, you guys come in the office, I can look at an x-ray with you, and it, you know, it shows maybe you're 40 years old and it looks riddled with arthritis, and I can look at an 80-year-old and it doesn't have any. So it's not really about age, it's about what happens to our bodies and then how we live, how we combat those things. So in order to minimize the interferences that create the issues that we face and lack of movement, we have to focus on the 4 essentials of life: the food, water, oxygen, and nerve supply. So what do I mean by oxygen? What does that mean? When I say, I mean, we all know when I say food, I gotta eat right. I gotta drink a lot of water. Nerve supply, chiropractic, the spine, the nervous system, right? We want to clear up that relationship. But what is the oxygen? Anybody?
Good air.
Yeah, you gotta breathe good air. And how else do I get oxygen? I mean, I have to breathe, right? But I'm going to increase my oxygen uptake by exercise, right? Especially cardiovascular exercise. So it's important to recognize that your posture and postural-based exercises increase your body's ability to uptake oxygen. One of the really interesting things is when you see people who don't stand up straight anymore from the side dimension, they're standing like this, guess what happens to their rib cage? It goes this way, and it goes this way. And then if they smoke on top of it, or you know, they have other chronic obstructive pulmonary issues, their rib cage continues to expand in order to make up for that reduced lung capacity. So posture plays a huge role in your body's ability to take up oxygen. So we need to continue to build up the process of wellness from the inside out. Thomas Edison said, "The doctor of the future will prescribe no medicine, but will interest patients in the care of the human frame and in the cause and prevention of disease." And I think part of that is, you know, the stuff that we're talking about. The 4 essentials of life and focusing on prevention and how to live well. Because it's, you know, the direction that we're going in isn't really looking good. We're going to talk a little bit about that too. So many of you guys right now are in the process of that in the office. I appreciate that effort that you're giving us, and that we want to help you sort of promote that process by giving you the tools to exercise in a way that's going to enhance your posture, which in turn is going to take care of your spine. So that's the priority, that you want to keep that beautiful relationship between structure and function working the way it's supposed to. So exercise is necessary, it's not optional, right, for total wellness. For thousands of years, we lived as hunters and gatherers. And this is really kind of interesting, I think. If you lived as a hunter and gatherer, Do you think you, and I don't mean to get on the meat thing the whole night, but do you think you ate meat every day if you were a hunter-gatherer? How did you get the meat? You had to go find it, right? You hunted. You walked for miles sometimes, for days. And then you had to kill the thing and drag it home and prepare it. And there was no refrigeration, so they ate it then. And it lasted maybe for a while, and they shared it among their family members. But it wasn't an everyday thing, right? So they lived more like roamed. They roamed, they walked, they moved, they climbed. Do you hike? Does anyone hike? What's it like to go on a hike? No one hikes? Man.
You walk on a golf course, is that like...
All right, so yeah, if you're walking the golf course, you have a caddy? Are you pulling your own gloves?
That's a good one.
I have to walk from the car.
All right. Well, so this is the modern day hike.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we've evolved though, or maybe devolved from that, and we've gone from the hunters and gatherers where basically if you didn't move to eat, you didn't eat. And even worse, something might have eaten you, right? I mean, you had to move. And we moved away from that into agricultural nation, and the agribusiness, and the mass production of food, and the processing of food. And people started to move less, and they were taking in even larger quantities of food in the form of calories, which are units of energy, without the expenditure of energy to get the food. So then we have this imbalanced equation. I was terrible at math, but I know that if I take in more than I'm burning, I'm not healthy, right? I'm gaining weight, I'm getting less and less conditioned, I may be becoming overweight or even obese. So from there we moved into the Industrial Revolution, right? And we had the assembly line, and we had all kinds of different automated systems to make things even faster and more efficient. And then the next thing you know, we have massive supermarkets all over the place, and people just drive down the street and you can buy anything. And now most of the stuff that you buy at the market's junk anyway, right? But you had to move even less, right? And then from there you go to the computer age, and you know, the information age. And so you sit in your house all day, you sit at work all day, and you're like this in front of the computer, right? And no one can stand up straight anymore because they're stuck like that. And that's all they do is they look at the computer all day, and this is the amount of exercise they get. Point and click, and the kids are like this, the video games and the texting. And so pretty soon you look like this all the time. I mean, really, it's unbelievable. I even see chiropractors that do that. I can't believe it. So, you know, so you get way away from movement. And all you have to do is move a little bit. You don't have to be a decathlete. You don't have to be an Ironman. You don't have to be a super athlete. But you got to move. You got to move a little bit. So as a result, we're seeing a more rapid decline in the overall health in our culture, in our society. And I brought some information about that. And I don't want to be doom and gloom. We made it through the rapture. That's good. But this, you got to know. And by the way, he's saying 5 months. That's it. 5 more months. Yeah. But this might sound like I'm like that guy, but I'm an optimist. But this is, I think, this is interesting. UN report that ecosystems are at a tipping point, and this all gets to exercise, believe it or not. But it's important that we lay the groundwork so you know what's going on with the world we live in. That the ecosystems are under massive decay, and unless massive further action is taken, further loss is very likely. And what he says is that basically we're living an unsustainable practice, the way we live as a culture. And that right now, vertebrate species, and we're vertebrates, but of all vertebrate species, they fell by nearly 1/3 between 1970 and 2006. And that 60 breeds of livestock have become extinct since 2000. And so that's that maybe agribusiness, right? We're sort of over-demanding from the earth, and it's unsustainable. So species are dying, we're destroying ecosystems. Falling life expectancy and the collapse of the United States, says, according to studies conducted separately by Columbia University and